What if Jesus told you the worst thing you would ever do before you even knew you were capable of doing it? What if the person who knew you better than anyone else looked into your eyes and calmly described the very failure you were certain would never happen? Would you believe him? Or would you trust your own heart instead? That question changed Peter's life forever. Because on one unforgettable night, Peter discovered that self-confidence can sometimes become the greatest enemy of genuine faith. Jerusalem had begun to quiet. The noise that filled the streets during the day slowly faded into the evening. Families gathered together. Lamps flickered behind stone walls. The aroma of roasted lamb drifted through narrow streets. Across the city, thousands prepared to celebrate Passover. It was a night filled with remembrance. For generations, Israel had celebrated how God delivered his people from slavery in Egypt. Parents told the story to their children. They remembered the blood on the doorposts, the angel of death passing over every faithful home, the miracle of deliverance, the beginning of freedom. Yet on this particular evening, God was preparing an even greater deliverance. Not from Pharaoh, not from Rome, but from sin itself. The disciples did not understand that, not yet. Jesus gathered the 12 in a quiet upper room. It was a familiar setting, a shared meal, close friends, a moment away from the crowds. Perhaps Peter expected encouragement. Perhaps he expected another lesson. Perhaps he imagined Jesus was about to reveal his next step toward establishing the kingdom. Instead, the atmosphere felt strangely heavy. Jesus moved differently that night. His words were slower. His eyes carried a sadness the disciples could not explain. It was as though he was carrying the weight of something invisible, something none of them could yet see. Then something happened that completely overturned their expectations. Jesus rose from the table. He wrapped a towel around his waist. He poured water into a basin. Without saying a word, he knelt, one by one. He began washing the disciples' feet. The room fell silent. No rabbi did this. No master served his students this way. This was the work of a servant, the lowest servant. Peter watched in confusion. His mind resisted everything he was seeing. This did not fit his understanding of the Messiah. Kings were served. Kings did not kneel. When Jesus finally came to Peter, he pulled his feet back. His voice broke the silence. "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" There was disbelief in his words, almost protest, almost embarrassment. Jesus answered gently, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." But Peter could not accept it. "No, you shall never wash my feet." Never. Peter meant every word. His devotion was real. His love was genuine. But once again, his confidence spoke before his understanding. Jesus looked at him with remarkable patience. "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." Everything changed. Peter's heart swung to the opposite extreme. "Lord, then not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." That was Peter, always all or nothing. Always passionate, always sincere, yet rarely balanced. Jesus smiled gently. Peter still did not understand. Not fully, but Jesus loved him anyway. Perhaps that is one of the most beautiful truths hidden inside this scene. God does not wait until we understand everything before loving us. He loves us while we are still confused, while we still misunderstand his ways, while we still resist what he is trying to do. The meal continued. Bread was broken, the cup was shared. Then Jesus spoke words that caused every conversation to stop. "One of you will betray me." Silence. The disciples looked around the room. No one spoke. Surely he could not mean someone here. These were his closest friends, the men who had followed him for years. Who could possibly betray him? One after another. They asked the same heartbreaking question. "Lord, is it I?" Notice something remarkable. None of them asked, "Is it him?" Instead, they questioned themselves. For a brief moment, they recognized something that Peter had not yet fully learned. Human weakness lives inside every heart. Eventually, Judas left the room. The door closed behind him. The night outside grew darker. But an even more personal conversation was about to begin. Jesus turned his attention toward Peter. His voice remained calm, but his words carried an unbearable weight. "Simon, Simon." The repetition alone revealed tenderness, concern, love. "Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat." Peter listened carefully. The room suddenly felt colder. The enemy wanted to test them, to shake them, to expose what lay hidden beneath the surface. Then Jesus said something extraordinary. "But I have prayed for you." Not, "I will remove the trial." Not, "I will stop the suffering." "I have prayed for you." What incredible comfort, the Son of God praying personally for Peter. Yet Jesus continued, "That your faith may not fail." At first, those words sound encouraging, until we notice something unexpected. Jesus did not say Peter would avoid failure. He said his faith would survive it. There's an enormous difference, because sometimes God allows our confidence to be broken, so that genuine faith can finally grow. Peter still did not understand. He heard the words, but his heart filtered them through his own confidence. Then Jesus spoke the sentence that changed everything. "Before the rooster crows today, you will deny 3 times that you even know me." Time seemed to stop. Peter stared at Jesus. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Perhaps another disciple, perhaps someone weaker. Not Peter, never Peter. His response came immediately, without hesitation, without reflection, without even considering that Jesus might be revealing something Peter himself could not yet see. "Lord, I am ready to go with you, both to prison and to death." He believed it, every single word. This was not hypocrisy. It was tragedy, because Peter loved Jesus enough to die for him. He simply did not yet understand how fear could overpower even sincere devotion. Jesus looked at him, not with disappointment, not with anger, but with deep compassion. He saw both versions of Peter, the man standing confidently before him, and the broken man who would soon weep in the darkness. He also saw something Peter could not imagine. Beyond the tears, beyond the denial, beyond the shame, he saw restoration. He saw forgiveness. He saw a future preacher whose words would change thousands of lives. Because Jesus never defines people by their worst moment. He sees who they can become after grace has finished its work. Peter did not know that yet. All he knew was that he would never fail. And that certainty was quietly leading him toward the greatest test of his life. The meal ended. The disciples stood. Together, they walked into the cool Jerusalem night. The streets were quiet. The moon hung above the city. Ahead of them waited a familiar garden. It looked peaceful, but before the sun rose, everything Peter believed about himself would be shattered forever. If this part made you realize that confidence without dependence on God can become dangerous, leave a comment with the word faith. And stay with us. Because in the next chapter, Peter enters the Garden of Gethsemane, where courage begins to give way to confusion, fear, and the longest night of his life.